Hello friends, this is This Week in Acts. Our journey through Acts began this week with Paul and Silas in a Philippian prison. Then we read about Paul's adventures in Thessalonica, Berea, Athens, and Corinth. We'll start this review in Philippi. God sets events in motion as he does so often in the book of Acts by providing an earthquake, giving Paul the opportunity to tell the story of Jesus, which opportunity he absolutely seizes. A jailer asks one of the most important questions any sinner can ever ask. What must I do to be saved? And Paul answers, believe on the Lord Jesus. The same hour of the night, the jailer and his family were baptized, and soon all are rejoicing that they had become believers. I like what Dr. Raymond Kelsey once taught regarding this great text. He said, we have a statement of what the jailer needed to do to be saved in verse 31. Believe on the Lord Jesus. We have a summary statement in verse 34 that he did believe with his entire household. Everything that happens between verses 31 and 34 can be summarized in verse 34 as faith. The jailer washed Paul's wounds after hearing about the message of Jesus. This was faith in Jesus in action. He was baptized. This was faith in Jesus in action. So verses 31 and 34 are the summary statements, and verses 32 and 33 are the specifics of what it means to believe in Jesus. Well, we must not minimize the importance of trusting in Jesus. Faith is so important, but neither should we minimize the importance of baptism, as this story demonstrates. In Thessalonica, Paul finds an audience for his message in the Jewish synagogue. He's the apostle to the Gentiles, all right, but he's not going to give up on his Jewish compatriots. What does he do in the synagogue? He argues with them from the Scriptures, explaining and proving that it was necessary for the Messiah to suffer and rise from the dead. He calls his hearers to examine the Scriptures, and he enters into debate with them, chapter 17, verses 2 and 3. He marshals his arguments and sets out for his hearers the evidence to support his arguments. He opens the meaning of the Scriptures to those who are willing to listen. Hey, there is no shame in doing what Paul did. Forced out of Thessalonica by the jealous Jews, Paul moves on to Berea, and there he encounters men and women who were more receptive to Paul's message than those in Thessalonica. And how does Luke describe their complete eagerness to hear Paul's message? He says that they examined the Scriptures every day, rather than simply on the Sabbath day. We are like the Bereans. We have experienced the value of carving out time every day to meet up with God, spending time in His Word, and conversing with Him in prayer. In Athens, an altar with the inscription, "To an unknown God," gives Paul the opportunity to explain who this unknown God really is. And then Paul capitalizes on the truth that all human beings are searching, seeking, groping after God, whether they know or not the true object of their search. Let me tell you about the real object of your search, Paul declares. He's the Lord of heaven and earth. He gives to all human beings life, breath, and all things. He once overlooked human ignorance about Him, but He does so no longer. Now He commands every person to change his or her ways, and He has scheduled a day when He will judge each one, and the judge of all the earth will be His own Son, whom He raised from the dead. After getting a mixed reception in Athens, Paul moves on to Corinth, and again we are shown that God's guiding hand is apparent in His movement through the book of Acts. The entire mission that is chronicled in the book of Acts is described or characterized by God's initiative. For Paul is given yet another vision, and in this vision the Lord commands Paul and assures him, don't be afraid, he says. Speak, don't be silent, for I am with you, and no one will lay a hand on you to harm you, for there is a great people for me in this city. Wow. I do not believe that we do such a great injustice to this text if we see ourselves in it. For God could very well be saying these words to each one of us. There is no need for you to be afraid. There is a need for you to speak. So speak up. Don't be silent. I am with you, and no one will harm you. There are a great number of my children in this city, and I need your help to restore them to my family. Enough said.